Work continues on the plan for a new school on the south side, notifications on traffic and parking matters, and a preview of the state primary election, interviews with local candidates, and what voters in the city need to know ahead of Tuesday. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick, and this is The Frame, Framingham News in Focus. Hi, and welcome to The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. Later on in the program, we've got previews on the upcoming state primary races, which are set for this Tuesday, September 3rd, as we sat down with the Democratic candidates for both the 7th Middlesex District state representative seat, as well as the District 2 position on the Governor's Council. That's coming up soon, but first, an update on the plan to build a new school on the city's south side. The Framingham School Building Committee approved the submission of an educational profile to the Massachusetts School Building Authority for review during their meeting on Monday, August 26th. The 13-member group is tasked with overseeing the process of developing a new elementary school to replace Hemingway Elementary on Water Street. Local officials acquired a property on Bethany Road in a $9 million deal with the Sisters of St. Joseph last year, and that site is slated for the new Southside Elementary School. Proponents say the new school will result in increased accessibility south of Route 9 while alleviating concerns regarding a lack of space at the current Hemingway facility and expanding educational opportunities for students in pre-K and kindergarten. The submission of the educational profile was required by the authority as state and local officials will work together to develop the site. City officials had previously targeted September of 2029 for the opening of a new school on the south side. City officials are looking for 4 residents to volunteer for the Framingham Traffic Commission. The group works with police, fire, school, and public works representatives to establish and alter local traffic regulations. 4 residents, one of which is for a business community representative, another being a resident of the downtown area, and the final 2 acting in an at-large role, are needed to fill terms that end at varying dates over the next 3 years. The deadline to apply for the Traffic Commission is Monday, September 30th. Speaking of traffic rules, a final reminder now that amendments to the traffic, parking, and transportation regulations in Framingham that were accepted by the Commission back in April will go into effect this Sunday, September 1st. These changes notably include a ban on parking for vehicles with a commercial license plate on Sundays, as well as during overnight hours. Parking within 7 feet of a residential driveway will also be prohibited. Head to the Traffic Commission tab on the city's website, framinghamma.gov, for a full list of changes coming on Sunday. More stories that matter to your community can be found on the latest source for local information, www.theframe.news. From additional details on stories you see on our program every week to feature pieces we've recently completed across Framingham, you can find it all there. Follow us on social media, too. Our accounts on Instagram and X can be found at FrameNews_. Head over to Access Framingham's YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button to ensure that you never miss an episode of our news podcast. Find us on Facebook, too, just by searching for The Frame. And now, the main subject of this week's program, the upcoming state primary election. Voters across Massachusetts, including Framingham, will be casting ballots this upcoming Tuesday, September 3rd. There are 2 notable races in this year's primary across the city, and both are on the Democratic Party ballot. We begin with a preview of the primary race for the 7th Middlesex District State Representative seat, as incumbent Jack Patrick Lewis is facing a challenge from Ashland Affordable Housing trustee Carlton Phelps. We were able to sit down with both ahead of Tuesday. 2024 marks the first time Representative Lewis will be taking part in a contested primary since he first won the seat back in 2016. In recent years, he's touted support for a wide range of legislation developed on Beacon Hill, including an expansion of benefits for veterans and a boost for maternal and youth health. A major lesson Lewis has learned in his time, as he told us, developing relationships with both politicians and local stakeholders is key.
And those relationships have helped me to craft legislation, to know where to put my political energy, how to spend my political capital, and try to be everywhere in the community so that most people hopefully know who their state rep is or how to get a hold of them.
Having worked as an affordable housing trustee and as a bank auditor for the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston, Phelps believes using his experience in finance and housing can result in positive legislation for Framingham and Ashland, working towards making down payments more attainable and incentivizing strategic housing developments are some pillars of his platform. Another one of those key points, an increased sense of transparency coming from the State House.
I want, from now on, the state reps on that level to be able to share how they vote, because we need to know, as the people, we the people need to know how our state rep votes for everything from public safety on to housing, everything.
Phelps has criticized Lewis's vote in 2021 against a rule in the House that would have revealed exactly how state reps vote on bills at the committee level. In response, Lewis noted that any constituent is free to reach out to him on any legislative matter and that they can expect an answer, adding that the things residents of the district truly care about are results. Even as they run against each other, they share many of the same ideals. They both label themselves as progressive, both identify education, housing, public transportation, and climate resiliency as major areas for improvement, and both have advocated for the continued protection of civil rights. As they tell it themselves, though, Lewis's difference is the efforts made during his tenure in the community and on Beacon Hill, while Phelps's is the sense of transparency that he wants to offer residents of the 7th Middlesex District.
What I have done in a relatively short period of time, 8 years, is pass more legislation that I'm the lead sponsor of and pass more legislation that I'm the co-sponsor of than the vast majority of my colleagues. And if I'm reelected, I'm just going to continue doing that.
This vote isn't going to be about the people you know, all the politicians that endorse you. This is really bringing it back to the people so the people can make a decision, an informed decision on what solutions are you going to bring to Beacon Hill. The people care about everyday solutions for our economy. How do I put food on the table, clothes on my back, and a roof over my head?
Shifting gears now to the other notable local election happening during this state primary cycle, the four-way race for the Democratic Party's nomination for the District 2 seat on the Massachusetts Governor's Council. The council's role is to advise the governor on certain legal matters, such as nominations for judges or recommendations on pardons. Framingham is one of the nearly 40 cities and towns that are represented by District 2. That District 2 seat has been vacant since 2022. But now, Tamisha Civil, Muriel Kramer, Sean Murphy, and David Reservitz are all vying for the Democratic bid. We sat down with all four candidates to learn more about their backgrounds, as well as how they feel their experiences would inform their actions in the role. Here's a tease of this week's frame-by-frame segment on the race for the Governor's Council.
If we want to represent people of all walks of life, we want to make sure that our council is represented as well, making sure that when we nominate judges, that the ideology of the judges reflect the constituents in our community, and they also have a knowledge of what the community is going through.
One of the best parts, I think, about this competitive primary in District 2 for great candidates is that it's elevating the conversation. And why that is important is it's a really powerful job, right? We make decisions on the Governor's Council that establish really powerful positions for the future.
Governor's Council does an awful lot of things. It's not just picking judges, it's a lot of the court positions, things like that. But the one that everybody talks about, and probably in my opinion the most important, is confirming judicial nominees. So look, I just want to ensure that we have good, qualified judges. I'm a Democrat, I got democratic values, but I don't want the judiciary to be over-politicized. If you really think about it, the judiciary is designed to be the referee between the left, the right, and everything in between.
The vetting of judges is crucially important for a lot of reasons, one of which is to make sure that these judges are unbiased, that they're going to hear the evidence that's presented to them and render a fair and just award or ruling. It will come down to the Governor's Council to make sure that we have the right people doing that.
We'll be posting that frame-by-frame segment online for you to see before the primary, along with the entire slate of interviews that we conducted with Lewis, Phelps, and the 4 Democrats running for the local Governor's Council nomination. You can watch them by heading to our website, theframe.news, or by visiting Access Framingham's YouTube channel. Now, the primary race for that Governor's Council race on the Republican Party ballot is uncontested. as Francis Crimmins Jr. is slated to advance to November's general election and run against whoever emerges as the winner in the Democratic primary. GOP voters in Framingham will also choose a candidate for U.S. Senator, as Bob Antonellis, Ian Kane, and John Deaton are attempting to secure that nomination. The winner in that primary will go up against incumbent Democrat Elizabeth Warren for a shot at a position in Washington. Before we wrap up this week, a few brief reminders regarding the state primary on Tuesday the 3rd. Polls in Framingham will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. A full list of precincts and a tool to help determine where your polling location is can be found on the city's website, framinghamma.gov, under the City Clerk and Elections tab. Mail-in ballots must be received by the City Clerk's office by 8 p.m. on election night. Ballot drop boxes behind the Memorial Building and at the McAuliffe Branch Library on Water Street will be open until that time. Mail-in ballots can also be delivered to a drop box right at the City Clerk's office inside of the Memorial Building. That will be it for this week's Framingham News in Focus. For our entire team here at The Frame, thanks for joining us this week. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.